Welcome to the world-famous Blackpool Tower. In this video we're going to delve into the history of this iconic structure and take a trip to the top. We take it for granted these days. You think Blackpool and the tower immediately pops into your head. But what was it like before the tower even existed? Before the tower was built, the site was home to a normal array of Victorian seafront attractions. Originally the site of Woodley's Beach Hotel, then later becoming the Prince of Wales shopping arcade. The site was then later bought by a Dr. William Henry Cocker, who opened up his famous aquarium and menagerie inside the former arcade building. The land was then again sold in 1889 to the newly formed Blackpool Tower Company. Dr. Cocker's aquarium and menagerie was still operated whilst construction commenced, and the tower building built around it. It was eventually incorporated into the tower building itself, with the aquarium and menagerie rebuilt as one of the many attractions inside. The original idea for the tower came from one John Bickerstaff, a former mayor of Blackpool. He came back from a trip to Paris for the 1889 World Exhibition, where they had just unveiled the spectacular Eiffel Tower. Another higher replica tower was also built in Wallasey, just down the coast. I've already done a thorough video on this for the channel. Check the description below for a link to watch it afterwards. Upon his return, he immediately set about forming a company and encouraging investors for his own proposal to build Blackpool's very own tower. He modelled the Blackpool Tower on the appearance of Eiffel Tower, but with a building built around its legs. Bickerstaff invested £2,000 of his own money into the project, showing how much he believed in his own ideas.
This is the original silver model of the tower that was presented to John Bickerstaff in 1898, and it's still here today.
The original location for the tower was proposed for Rigby Road, near today's Tramtown. It was set to replace the Colosseum attraction that had originated at the Royal Palace Gardens in Blackpool, but the land was deemed unsuitable. Apparently it was too marshy and built on clay. The site we have today was eventually chosen. The land was purchased from Dr. William Cocker, and a foundation stone was laid to begin the construction in 1891. It was believed the proximity to both railway stations was the main deciding factor for the location. The tower foundations were dug 23 feet deep and 35 feet square, and believed to have been built on the original mouth of the River Ribble. It was also rumoured at the time that the foundations were built on cotton bales. This was, however, one of many silly rumours at the time, believed to have been a quip made by John Bickerstaff, actually meaning it was built on investment money made from the cotton trade. It was actually constructed on concrete pads, sat on a bed of Norrie stone that was quarried in Rossendale, Lancashire. The architects for the tower were Manchester's James Maxwell and Charles Tuke, and it was constructed by Heenan and Froude using the world's first electric crane. Another silly rumour doing the rounds was that it was constructed so that should it collapse, it would fall into the sea. This was also a quip made by Bickerstaff purely to keep the locals quiet. The tower itself was built using 2,200 tons of steel and should be painted in a special paint to stop it from corroding in the salty sea air. A time capsule was buried somewhere on the site, with a voice recorded on a phonograph. It was always believed that this was hidden behind the memorial plaque on the front of the building, but in recent times the plaque has been refurbished and no time capsule was ever found. Construction took just over 2 years to complete, starting in late 1891 and completed in December in 1893. By lifting of the flagpole onto the tower top. The tower building that surrounded it was completed in spring the following year. People are always surprised to find out that the tower is not built on top of the building, but the building is built around its legs, with them forming part of the building structure. The Tower Circus is actually built inside the space between its legs, and its boxes built inside the legs themselves. It was also designed to sway and flex in high winds, as most modern buildings are to this day. When it opened on the 14th of May 1894, it was the tallest man-made structure in the British Empire, standing at 480 feet to the crow's nest and 518 feet and 9 inches to the top of the flagpole, and costing around £290,000 to build, or around £32 million in today's money. In its first year operating, over 70,000 customers paid sixpence to enter the building, and another sixpence to use the lifts to the tower top. Tragedy struck the tower in 1897 when a fire broke out at the tower top platform. The fire was visible for up to 50 miles, and the fire destroyed all wood platforms on the upper floors and caused the 11-ton lift counterweight to fall from the arrival platforms and down into the basement. As the counterweight fell, it came off its runners in the tower leg and smashed through the steelwork of the tower, through the circus building, and buried itself in the foundations of the tower. There is also another myth that it can still be seen today, although I am reliably informed that this is not the case. Some damage and repairs can still be seen on the tower leg, but the lift counterweight is nowhere to be seen. It was probably covered over by freshly laid concrete carried out during the repairs. In the 1920s, it became apparent that the tower structure hadn't been looked after using the correct paint as advised, and as such it became very corroded. Discussions at the time almost led to the tower being demolished, but instead the whole structure of the tower was slowly replaced over a 4-year period. During the Second World War, the crow's nest was removed and replaced by an Air Force radar system and a large searchlight that was installed at the top. To stop it being used for enemy navigation, it's also rumoured that a replica tower was built in the hills of North Wales. The tower was also deemed to be safe from enemy bombs, as was the rest of Blackpool. It was said that Hitler had eyed up Blackpool as a place to entertain his dignitaries should he ever win his conquest. In 1984, a giant 85-foot King Kong statue was attached to the tower for its 90th birthday celebrations, and for its centenary in 1994, the whole structure was painted in gold. The tower is now a Grade 1 listed structure and has recently had a major refurbishment, stripping back the many layers of paintwork and back to the steel. It was then repainted in its original dark red colour, which has to be redone every 7 years.
This little foyer area before you board the 4D cinema and go up the tower is actually inside one of the tower legs. So right in here, as you can see, this is one of the squares of the legs, just one leg. And they've boxed it in so you can walk through it. Yeah, I just thought to show you that because it is very interesting, and a lot of people probably won't even notice the steelwork in here. Just look at the amount of bolts in just this section alone. There's hundreds of them. This is, like I said, this is just one tiny piece of one of the legs that we're in. And yeah, you can see where it sits within the framework of the building. Now, one thing I do like about Merlin running the Blackpool Tower is that they exposed the original arches underneath the tower inside the building, which were covered over for a long time when it was run by leisure parks. And yeah, you can actually see them in numerous places in the building now.
The tower was originally accessed directly from the promenade and Bank Hay Street. You would ascend a staircase to make your way up to the tower lift lobby, and all the other attractions were separately accessed via their own doors, not like today where you can access them all from inside the tower building. The tower was owned by the Bickerstaff family all the way through until 1964. It has since been owned by many private companies who have changed and upgraded the facilities within the building. But in 2010 it was bought by Blackpool Council, and its operations are leased to Merlin Entertainments. This enables funding and grants to be sought for major renovation works and ensures its future for many more years. Future videos of current and past attractions within the tower building are in the works, so keep your eyes peeled on the channel for those.
Why not explore our free outer levels? Access to video. We hope you enjoy your time here at the Blackpool Tower.
Here we are at the top of Blackpool Tower, and on the first level, which is the indoor section as I call it, and as soon as you come out of the lift, you've got this amazing glass floor and glass front here, which is, it throws you off when you come out of the lift, and that's the first thing you see. Now, there is a lot of very scared people stood at the sides not wanting to go on it like me, but I am going to brave it for you and walk over it in a minute when everybody else has moved out of the way. Okay, I'm being brave. I'm stood on the glass floor. When I was a kid, I would never have done this. I am getting braver as I get older. Yeah, it's weird because you know it's safe, but you can just see straight down, and your brain just can't compute that. I'll try another one this way so you can see the leg of the tower behind me, right down there. Yeah, this is so surreal. That looks so good. I'm being brave. Trying not to look down. I remember the old glass floor that used to be in the corner, the small one, and I was bad enough for that, but yeah, this is a different level. It's just because it's glass along the front and below you, all the full length of the inside deck here. It's so strange just being stood here. Right, let's do it. Let's walk across. This is so weird. So whilst we're here, I am going to do a photo fade taken looking this way, back in the Victorian period at this lift here, and the old attendant that was stood there. Now, when you come up the tower, you exit the lifts here, and the first thing you see in front of you, like I say, is the glass floor and the big panoramic windows, which are floor to ceiling across the Irish Sea. But what a view, look at that. Especially on a brisk day like today. I mean, it is quite breezy out there. It's quite a strong wind, and you can't really feel the tower moving, but you can see on the sea there, look, how windy it is. But anyway, let's just have a quick walk round this deck, and then I'll take you up to the next one. So obviously you can see around all four sides of Blackpool. And you have the usual coin machines and little touchscreen information points. And then the lifts back down are on this side here, when you're ready to exit, that is. And then just on this side is a little bar at the side here, which I do believe they sell champagne and any kind of drink you can imagine to get at the top of the tower. You can sit down at a lovely table and enjoy. Now, while we're up here, it gives you a good chance to look at the Winter Gardens complex right in the middle there, which we did a 9 or 10 part video series on, well, a couple of years ago now. So if you've not seen them, head back on the channel and check out every single one of those videos, because we went behind the scenes in pretty much every single venue at the Winter Gardens. And we even covered the secret tunnel, which supposedly ran from the front of Winter Gardens down to the tower where I am right now. Okay, let's head up to the next level, which is the outside level. Like I say, this first level when you come off the lifts is always nicer because it's indoors and not as windy or cold. And then as soon as you head out here, watch this. Wow, the wind is absolutely howling. Definitely a lot windier up here than what you think. Yeah, there's not a lot up here in terms of things to do, just views really. And it's a lot more open. And you go back down on this side here, but it's a lot more open, obviously, around here than what it is on the indoor bit. So the original lifts for Blackpool Tower were located down in the motor room, which would have been in the basement levels, and it had the weights in the leg, one of the legs anyway. And the actual lifts still obviously ran up the centre of the tower. And then in later years, that engine room or the lift room was moved up onto the roof of the building. Now I believe it was about the 1990s, so about 1992, when they replaced the lifts completely. And they moved the engine room for the lifts, or the motor room, to right here on the second level at the tower top and through this door. So the actual winding gear is in there and it brings the lifts up as opposed to pulling them from below. And also the counterweights run in the center of the lift, as they didn't do when it first opened. Now, another interesting fact for you. The lifts, the original 1894 lifts, were actually faster than the lifts that we have today. Now that could be because the engines or the motors were a lot bigger back then, and also they had more room to house them downstairs, whereas today's lifts are housed at the top, so they've got less room. But apparently you could ascend to the tower top in 55 seconds and down in 35 seconds, not like today where it's over a minute.
The very first lifts in the tower were hydraulic, with 3 Crossley gas engines powering them from in the basement level. Their counterweights and cables built into the tower leg. In 1952, Otis Lifts converted them to electric lifts, with a lift house built on the roof and counterweights down the middle of the tower. The original lift weights were left in place at the base of the tower leg and can still be seen to this day. The 2 most recent lifts were built in 1992 and operate independent of each other, each holding 45 passengers, but capped at 30, no more than 10 tons in total. The 7 steel lift cables are capable of carrying 100 tons, and the lifts have safety brakes fitted in case of emergency.
Okay, just to show you how windy it is up here, as soon as I get round this corner, you're going to see how bad it is. You ready? Oh, nearly blew the camera out of my hand as soon as I left the wall there. That was strong. I could feel it on my arm first. So this is the 3rd level and we're now at 401 foot. Now today you can only ascend 1 more level above us. This one's at the 401 feet mark, and then, like I said, just 1 more level above. And I do believe back in the day you used to be able to do another, at least 1 more. So if I remember, about 5 levels, whereas today it's only 4. Now over the years I've had to reduce the number of levels that you can access because of idiots doing stupid things higher up. So today it is the 4. Okay, so up to the 4th level of tower top, or the final, as far as I can remember. And on this one you get a panoramic 360 degree view all the way around. So this is the 4th and final level at tower top, shall I say, that you can ascend, because all the other levels above, I think there's another 2 or 3 above here, are all sealed off today. And as you can see, the spiral staircase in the middle here, which would have taken you up there. I do remember actually going up there when I was a kid. So you could then, but now it's all sealed off and you can no longer access the very top, which I believe was called the Crow's Nest. But by God, it is really windy at this level because it's 360 degrees around and the wind is just howling straight through the top. Well, thank you very much for joining us here at the wonderful and historic Blackpool Tower. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one next week. Bye for now.